Hey, it's Chuck Carstensen, Carstensen team at Remax Results, and we're on the video number 13 for the Credit Genius University series brought to you by Paragon Credit. And this one we go deeper into what happens if one of your bills takes you all the way to court and the bill collector tries to collect. Well, there's certain steps you want to be aware of, certain things you want to be aware of. For example, there's processes they have to follow. So watch this video and listen and find out what has to be done and protect yourself.
Hello, and welcome back to the Credit Genius U Credit Education Series. In this week's episode, we are talking about what you should do if you are summoned to court for a past due debt. In last week's episode, we talked about the importance of keeping an open line of communication with any creditor or collector who is attempting to make contact with you regarding any past due debt. So what do you do if one of these debts gets to the point of being escalated to court? Great question, and that is exactly what we are going to cover today. But before we get started, let's input a small legal disclaimer. As with all of our videos, we want to be crystal clear that at no point is this information intended to be legal advice, and you should always consult with a legal professional before taking any action. Our videos are purely for educational purposes and should be treated as such. Okay, now that we made our attorneys happy, let's get down to business. Sometimes a creditor or collector will get sick of trying to collect from you unsuccessfully and send a debt to court where they can ask a judge to place a judgment on your credit report and, of course, demand that you pay them what is owed. This can even get to the point of garnishing your wages by court order if a judge agrees to that. So what can you do, if anything, when this situation arises? Well, the truth is that answer will vary as each debt has its own circumstances and set of complexities. But, and there is a large but here, you should know that due to the way that most past due debts are handled during the collection process, a good portion of past due debts are not legally collectible. That's right. You see, there is an entire laundry list of laws that an organization must follow when trying to collect a debt from you, including proper verification of the original debt terms, ensuring that they have legal proof that you are actually liable for the debt, and executing all debt collection practices in a legally compliant way, just to name a few. So why is it then that a large portion of debt collectors don't follow these laws? Well, that's simple. They don't follow all of the laws in many cases because consumers don't take the time to research their rights and defend themselves. Let's look at one example of how this works. Let's say that you had a medical collection with a hospital, and that collection account was sold to a third-party collection company. This collection company may have data showing that only 3% of the consumers they try to collect from are even aware that they can ask to see written proof of liability, such as a contract or agreement with their signature on it. So, if only 3% of people are going to ask, does it really make sense for the collector to take the time needed to get contracts on the other 97% of debts that they purchased from that hospital? Well, while that is the law, these are for-profit companies, and many times the answer becomes a clear no. They still save loads of money by not taking the time to collect and file all of those documents, because 97% of people will never ask for the proof of liability in the first place. At the end of the day, your goal should be to educate yourself or engage a legal professional that can help you protect your consumer rights. Your other option is to do what most consumers do and just let the debt go to court and not show up. In this scenario, the collector wins, and you have a judgment on your credit report. And you are now court-ordered to pay a lot of money. And that's not an option anyone likes the sound of. Clearly, you can see why we always recommend to educate yourself on your consumer rights. Well, that's all for this week's episode. We will see you here next week for another episode of the Credit Genius U Credit Education Series. If you are in the process of looking to qualify for a home mortgage in the near future, you don't want to miss next week's episode. Until then, thanks for watching, and remember that with a little bit of work and our help, you too can be a credit genius.